I really hate how Donald Trump gets after like Bernie for being a democratic socialist, like going after like him calling him like, oh, he's a communist. His favorite color must be red. He's red. You know, he's like the Soviet socialists. You know, that sort of thing. I really want Bernie just to come back with, I might be red, but at least I'm not orange. Like, that would just make my night. But yeah, no, everyone's scared about healthcare recently, and I recently tested positive, not for corona, but for mono, and it was a false positive. It was just to make sure like everyone who's touched this mic is like all good. But yeah, so it was a false positive, and it was a relief, but it was also kind of a disappointment because that would have been like the only test that I passed this year. But turns out that it was actually just like a cold that I got from my nephew. And my nephew, he's an adorable little 6-year-old, terrifying by the way. He's an adorable little 6-year-old. Children scare me. Does children scare anyone else here? Most of you are lying. So, children absolutely terrify me because you can mess up a child in ways that you will not understand until much later. Yes. And I found this out accidentally, by the way. And I was, so I live in grad housing. I live, I'm not going to tell you where I live. I live in grad housing. And I was driving along one day, and there were these two little girls that were just trekking along. They were about like 4. What did I say the other day? This happened like 2 years ago. They were trekking along, and so I decided to just go and pull over because you know it would be safe of me to do that. So I went and I pulled over and I parked my car. And then one of these little girls just like started drifting off to the side into like my lane. And it was like, I had no idea what to do. And I just kind of like watched this happen. Again, I want to make sure that I was parked, I was not in the wrong, she hit me. Anyway. So this little girl on her trike, she just went along, and she was just slowly just trekking along and just hit my car, and all of a sudden just like disappeared. She was like under my car, and I was just mortified. I had no idea what to do, and I was expecting like little girl would just get up like crying, tell her mom or something, but no. This little girl got out from under my car with like the fire of 1,000 suns, just looked me dead in the eye. And she walked over to the driver's side and knocked on my window 3 times. So I locked the door. And I rolled down the window, and I was like, yes? And she looked me dead in the eye and was like, hey, mister, watch where you're going. And then just triked off. Like, this little girl just went up to a complete stranger that she thought that just hit her and told them to screw off. Like, this little girl is going to be the leader of a country one day. Not like Germany or France, but like Cuba or North Korea. And I thought that story was done. But it was not. Because a year and a half later, about 6 months ago, during fall quarter, I was... Huh?
It's okay, you don't have to do math.
6 months ago, during the fall quarter, I was driving along in a different neighborhood on my way to work. I work as a software engineer over a startup in Palo Alto, and I was going through a different neighborhood. And out in my rear view mirror, I saw this little, like, 6-year-old or so, just chasing after my car, like trying to flag me down. And I was curious. I was like, oh, maybe this little girl needs help, something like that. So I went and I pulled over and I stopped. This little girl, she came up, knocked on my driver's side window 3 times. I rolled down the window. She gave me this devilish smile and was like, hey, mister, watch where you're going. And then giggled and ran off. I was terrified. Not only did this little girl remember my face and probably my license plate, but she had the audacity to come up to a complete stranger that she thought hit her 2 years ago and say, "I know what you did." Thank you, everyone. My name is John Cochran.